So this should be of some interest to most of you. Weight loss and muscle gain with FitBit. In my life, I have been overweight twice, never severely overweight, but at one time 25 pounds overweight and recently 10 or 15 pounds overweight. I lost 10 pounds of fat and added 5 pounds of muscle in 6 months. This is a little device you've seen somewhere here, or people have talked about. It's called FitBit. I have nothing to do with this company, but I'm a big advocate of it recently. What I did, I decided I was getting overweight. I was about 165 pounds, which I thought was great, because that's what I'd been for many years, but I realized that in fact that was my college weight when I had a lot more muscle. I'm now 66 years old. So I decided that, and I was an inch shorter than I used to be. I have scoliosis in my spine, and so I'm a little shorter than I was. So now 165 pounds was starting to fall over my belt. So I decided 155 pounds, my high school weight, was more ideal, or probably would work better. I started using the FitBit. I tracked the calories burned. This is really just a pedometer on steroids. So it tracks everything tracks my movement all day long, and it tracks my sleep at night. So I wear it on my wrist. It actually gives me some indication of quality of sleep. I use their website and a Fitbit iPhone app, either one, to track weight. So every day, just once a day, I put in weight, and I put in what I eat. I had tried in the past a lot of online things with food trackers in them, and they're all a pain in the butt. This one is very simple to use. I spend less than 60 seconds a day putting in all my meals for the day. I mean, it just takes seconds for me to put it in. What happened? I went from 166 pounds down to 155 pounds. So I did exactly what I wanted to do. I got to 155 pounds and went, okay, I used to have a size 34 pants. I was now wearing a size 33 pants. This is great. But I decided there was no reason not to carry it a little bit further. And again, using some pieces from Timothy Ferriss's book, 4 Hour Body, I decided that I could bring the muscle back up and still keep the weight down. In the course of that, I just added a few things and did 2 30-minute workouts a week. So an hour a week, 4 hours a month, thus the 4 Hour Body. Exercises, I won't go through everything, but this whole routine takes less than 30 minutes. It includes my usual yoga routine in the morning, and then some of the exercises pushing them to absolute failure, but it still only takes a minute and a half, 2 minutes to do that. I went from 155 pounds to 160 pounds. Waist measurement actually went down another inch. These are a size 32 pants. Arms, chest, and calves. Arms actually went up, biceps went up an inch, waist went down. What I learned. Tracking alone creates mindfulness. So quantified self, what's it about? For me, it was about if you're doing any amount of real tracking and looking at what you're doing, you get more mindful about what it is that you're doing. Tracking must be easy to do. Why I was using the Fitbit. It turns out if you're tracking, and I've read this before, that if you get into the habit of doing something like daily tracking, after a couple of weeks, somewhere between a couple of weeks and a month, is where it turns into a real habit, and you're doing it all the time. My love and I are both very addicted to it at the moment. She won't go to bed without the Fitbit on. I mean, we track our sleep all the time. She feels as alone without the Fitbit as she does without the iPhone. What else did I learn? Activity. This is what a day on the Fitbit looks like. It tracks all of your movement, and it very clearly indicates, in a crude way, but a very effective way, about how many miles you traveled, how many steps you took, and what the level of that activity was. So this is a day that's a normal day without doing anything else. without an exercise routine, and without a walk. Here is a day with a walk. Look at the difference. All of a sudden we're at 4.19 miles instead of 2.2 miles. We're at 2,400 calories, almost 2,500 calories burned instead of 2,100 calories burned. And you can see that I walked to lunch, walked back from lunch, and at a fairly brisk rate, so it actually shows the activity level is higher. It doesn't take a lot to do that, to work that into your routine. I learned what 2,000 calories really looks like. And that's an odd statement. You can ask me more about it in the Q&A, but it's like all of a sudden I always thought that I was probably eating somewhere around 2,000 calories. The average American eats about 3,000. That's why they keep gaining weight. And I finally got to realize that I was probably eating about 2,300 calories every day. And I now know when a meal comes to me, I get a sense of what a real portion should look like. That a portion of meat should be about the size of your fist. You know, a portion of your vegetables should be like the size of your fist. A great diet for me is protein rich and vegetable rich. So eating more vegetables makes a huge difference. Eating the larger meal at lunch and versus dinner makes a huge difference in whether or not you're going to gain weight. FitBit had one other added piece that caused me to learn a lot, what my sleep looked like at night. So again, it tracks movement, and it's pretty easy to see. Here is what they class as a 97% efficiency. Took me a few minutes to fall asleep, got up to go to the bathroom once, and only a couple of other times in that evening did I even turn over. This is a different kind of night. This is a restless night. This is the difference between good sleep and not good sleep. And this isn't one of the worst days. I mean, I've got some that just look horrible. And those almost always occurred after me eating dinner later, or having sugar at that dinner. So a couple of rules came from that. One which is I never go to bed less than 4 hours after my dinner. And I never have desserts at dinner. And you can see it in your sleep. So there was a little note there. Orbital Web is my company. We're a web development company. So if you just remember orbitalweb/QS, if you want to download the slides, you can have those slides. Gary.
Did you notice any negative effects from your tracking experience or downsides?
No. No, I mean, everything was a positive experience because the device was simple enough to use. The entry of food was simple enough. And I had tried some before that were painful in terms of doing that. And so bottom line was that it worked easy and we got into the habit right away. And so everything else was just amazingly positive, yeah.
What's next?
What's next? For me personally, inside of this?
Yes.
Well, part of what got me into this was that I'm a web developer. And so I built many, many web apps. And so the conversation came up about building a health-related web application.
But I mean, for you, what's your next goal in terms of using the FitBit?
In the FitBit, we're both still wearing them all the time. So it's, yeah, the answer is I'm going to put on more muscle. No reason not to. I'm 66 and still hard to keep up with. So it's, but for me, I found one of the other things that I learned in the course of all this was that a little bit more muscle consumes calories. Very interesting thing to know, and lots of people don't realize that. So putting a little bit of muscle on makes a difference in how much you can eat and how you process food. So, yeah.
What other tools did you try that didn't work so well?
I didn't try any other devices. This came about, like I said, because I was looking at doing some kind of health application, online application. So I looked at a lot of devices, but this is only this year. So I looked at all kinds of things that are out there, and this was the one that applied to me, and I realized right away it was simple and easy, and that was critical to this kind of tracking, that it's easy enough to do. It's one of the other things I really learned in this. If it isn't easy to do, you're just not going to do it. So how did you start that question, though? It was like,
Well, you said that some things looked more complicated, so maybe even if you didn't use them, which
Yeah,
ones
the
did you
things
kind
that I
of
had
try?
tried that weren't devices, so that's why I say this is the only device that I've ever tried in that sense. Things that I tried were like just tracking food. And I found any of the things that I had tried before that were, on the web, track your food. There's some that takes a picture of your food and tries to figure out what the calories were. They were all harder to use. I don't spend 60 seconds total time in the day putting food into this. It takes me less than a minute to put in all my meals every day. So it's fast, and that makes a huge difference. So, yep, go ahead.
You had a comment on one of your slides about blood glucose. You had a comment about blood glucose on one of your slides. Did you track that also?
I did.
And how did you track it?
No, I didn't track the blood glucose. What I did was, this was a very interesting study for me because what I did was a lot of reading about it and did some experimenting about what would modulate blood glucose spiking.
But you didn't track it.
No, and what I did was track weight relative to what occurred when I was modulating blood glucose. So some very good work by Timothy Ferriss in his book 4 Hour Body. Talks about what he did, which was extreme, shoved monitor into his body to actually watch the curves in it all the time, and figured out which things actually worked to modulate blood glucose. Because it appears to be absolutely true that if you spike the blood glucose, the only thing left is for you to store that, and you do. If you never spike it, you're not going to store it. Yeah.
Did you find that your wife learned the same lessons as you, or were there things that worked for you and didn't work for her?
Maybe repeat the questions.
Yeah, so she was asking, because the two of us did it together, was there a difference in what we learned or what we got from it? Yeah, but pretty minor. Mostly it related still to what we were eating and how we were eating it. For both of us, it was a big thing to realize that not to eat late. And it's hard to show that here, but it was very obvious as we watched it every day, that if you ate meals late in the evening, those were the days the next day you were up a little bit, not down a little bit. Same amount of food, same number of calories, and that was the interesting thing to learn there. For her, it was more about just spreading the meals out, because she ate differently than I did. I always do a protein drink in the morning and spread my meals out over the day, and she didn't, and started to do that, so it was kind of a different learning experience there. And I don't know if she walked away with the same thing I did about all of a sudden, after 6 months, having a completely different view of a meal when it comes to me in a restaurant. It's like, I get that that's not 2,100 calories. And before I didn't, it was like I always ate what was there. Yeah.
It sounds like your tracking experience didn't interfere much with your daily activities, and you talked about how it was easy for you to use. I was wondering if there were any specific things that made that possible that allowed you to continue throughout your daily life without much interference going on, or was it simply because you were interested in keeping track of these things that it made it easy for you, even though it's present in your daily activities?
All I did, almost always, I put the food in at night. So I wasn't thinking about it during the day at all. So really, when I said easy, I meant I just shoved this in my pocket and that was it. At night I took it out, put it on a little wrist thing and went to sleep. But very quickly, I got to see that I was eating a lot more food than I thought I was in terms of calories. And the math, that part of the math is pretty simple. Calories in, calories out. And so that required some modulating right away. And so in that sense, it changed how I ate, but it didn't interfere with my life. I just started to learn a little bit more about what 2,000 calories or 2,100 calories, which is my goal. What did that look like? Yes?
I'm interested in the effects of your relationship in the sense of if you're not in this together.
Pardon?
If you're not in this together, do you think either of you, for lack of support plus, are able to stage on the scores as much, or does the fact that you have to put this together actually support your continuing with the regimen plus affects your relationship to you?
We both thought it was fun, so I think it made a difference in that sense. I think if you're doing anything like this with somebody else, it makes a difference. Fitbit has a thing where you can actually do it online with other people. So you can track the steps you're taking, you know, all the stuff it's tracking. It will track that against you and 3 of your friends if you want. We didn't do that. And so there was no like, we weren't playing the contest thing of it. We were just both very interested in it. And it made a difference. And she's lost weight and loves it. And so yeah, I think there's value there. I hadn't thought about it very much, you know, but the fact that we were both doing it made a difference. For me, it really seemed like once I had done it for 2 to 3 weeks, I was just doing it. It didn't require a lot of pressure from somebody else to continue doing it. I liked what was happening, and it was fun, and it was easy to do. So,
Well, let's wrap it up there. Thank you very much.